time. I always say that I'll come back soon, but anyway, today's pretty cold night today, around 3.5 degrees Celsius. Our hearts goes out to the farmers who are out on the streets fighting for their livelihood. But today's video is not about the farmers, but about a report which was released by Ministry of Family and Health Welfare 3-4 days back. Yes, I am referring to NFHS 5, the partial report, the preliminary report, National Family and Health Survey 5th. In the beginning, let me, because there are a lot of bad news going to come, so let us talk about the good news to start with and congratulate the people, ministry particularly, for something they have done. For example, NFHS works under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So it is not what you call an agency. It's not a organization or NGO or a body working under some other agency. It works under the ministry. The first NFHS study was done in 1992-93, second one in 98-99, third one in 2005-6. But due to some reasons, it was not conducted for the next 10 years. The fourth one was NFHS 4 was conducted in 2015-16, and the fifth one was conducted in 2019-20. It's not yet complete. I'll tell you the reasons. So the what I would like to compliment is if we don't have the data, then we cannot do any course correction. If you know there is something not good is happening, then we must do something differently. But without data, we don't even know that things are not moving in the right direction. So we must, according to me, do this survey because it's a whole pan-India survey covering lots of people. So it should be done at least once in 5 years, and then based on the data, we must correct the policies. So that's why I said this survey so far has been done in 17 states and 5 union territories, not all over India, covering 6.1 lakh households. But they have not done in some 12 states so far, including some of the big states like UP and MP. Because by the time the field survey started for these states, corona regulation restrictions have come, so they couldn't complete the survey. So hopefully in due course of time that also will be done, and we'll have the complete data with us. So right now what the ministry has released the data for 17 states and 5 union territories, totally 22. So rough estimate, we get it. A big situation, what is happening, we are able to understand and gauge. As I said, a lot of things are not happening in the right direction, which includes IMR, which includes child mortality rate, neonatal mortality rate, which includes uh, things like anemia, things like wasting of children, stunting, underweight, all those things. Let me give more data subsequently. But again, in the beginning, I want to tell something good also, that the data shows that vaccination has improved in all the states, all the 22 states and union territories. That's a very positive thing. Fertility rates have come down, the average size of the family has come down, contraceptive usage have increased. Though it's still the rural urban disparities are still existing, still more and more people are using contraceptives, which is good for controlling the population. Right, but a lot of bad things, as I said, are there. So let me start with that. For example, uh, as I said, this is given by ministry. More than half of the children and women in 13 out of 22 states are anemic. Not only that, anemia among the pregnant women has also increased in 11 out of 22 states and union territories compared to the previous study. Similarly, when you take the another important criteria, that is underweight among the children, 16 states out of 22 have seen an increase in underweight and wasted children. What is wasted, I will tell. 13 states have shown an increase in stunted children. So these are all not good at all. There are three different important criteria for determining the health of the children. One is underweight, that you know, understand it very clearly. Other two are stunted and wasted children. Stunted and wasted children. So stunted means the children whose height is much lower than what it should be compared to their age. Wasted children height they have grown according to the age, but their weight is much below what it should be. So all these things, stunted children, for example, is a very important data for understanding that there is an acute malnutrition is going on. Whereas underweight and wasted children, we know that it is chronic malnutrition is happening there. Here, both of them are happening. Both acute and malnutrition, chronic malnutrition are a norm, unfortunately, in India. So this is the basic reason for increase in anemia also among children and women. Some states have even shown an increase in number of pregnancies of teenage girls. That means child marriages and pregnancies during young age are also still happening. And due to cultural reasons, women are not given, girl children are not given proper nutrition, even in educated families, well-off families. So anemia is a persistent problem, chronic problem among women in India. So another data, very surprisingly, I have just shown the data for underweight and all. And whereas if you see the opposite side of the spectrum, drastic rise in obesity among children below 5 years, 20 out of 22 states have seen a big increase in obesity among under 5 children. Same state situation is there for both adults also, men and women also. 16 states have shown an increase in obesity also. So, on one end of the spectrum, among the poor people, malnutrition is increasing, underweight and stunting, and consequences of that are anemia and also increase in IMR and child neonatal mortality rate. Those are increasing. Whereas on the other side of the spectrum, the rich people are consuming much more than it is required for their body, and therefore obesity is increasing. That leads to later chronic heart problems, BP, diabetics, and all of them are due to obesity and sedentary lifestyle. So this two data coming from the same source, NFHS 5, shows that the inequalities in India are increasing. The well-off are becoming rich, are becoming more rich, and poor are becoming more poor. And one more thing you have to remember, all this data for 17 states and 5 union territories were taken before COVID. So as you know, COVID has destroyed the livelihoods of many poor people. Many millions of people walked their way back home, and it would have unfortunately increased the inequalities, the ability of the people to buy food, forget about nutritious food ability for the consumption patterns have changed. The amount they are doing needed for monthly consumption, every family has reduced it because their income levels have come down, and it will have a more negative deleterious effect on malnutrition levels of all the members of the family, particularly the most vulnerable women and children. So that unfortunately we don't have the data. Maybe we have to take one more NFHS survey within a year to understand the impact of corona and the subsequent unemployment. Even before corona itself, unemployment problem in India was the highest in the last 47 years as per the government survey itself. So I don't know what would have been after corona. So now they are going to take survey of the remaining states and union territories. Maybe that will capture the impact of corona on the livelihoods of the people. As I said, the data, there are much more data. There's today time is not there to explain everything, but I will cover some of the important things there. Neonatal mortality rate. Neonatal is the first 28 days after the child is born. It has to come down. IMR, MMR, neonatal mortality rate, under 5 mortality, all have to come down. That's a positive thing. But out of 22 states, it have reduced only in 15 states. Whereas IMR, which is for the first year, it has reduced in 18 states. It has to happen across the spectrum. For example, if we compare NFHS 3 that was done in 2005-6 and NFHS 4 2015-16, broadly corresponding to the 10 years of UPA rule, IMR reduced by more than one third, 33-34% it has reduced. But compared to NFHS 4 and 5, it has come down only by 8% among the all 22 states. Now, because as I said, 3 states it have actually increased IMR. As I was saying, it has to be IMR and neonatal mortality rate, under 5 mortality rate, all have to come down in all the states and union territories, in every district, in every tehsil, but unfortunately it has not happened. Still, the reduction in IMR is around 7 to 8% only compared to NFHS 4 and NHSS 5, which is vastly lower than the previous. Obviously, you can correspond all that with the economic criteria. When the economy is booming, when it's going at 9%, 10%, people will get more employment, they'll get more income, more disposable income, and therefore they'll spend more on health and education. And overall social parameters also will improve. Last 4-5 years I've seen, even before Corona struck, 7 consecutive quarters, economy was going down. The deceleration in the growth has happened, and in the first 2 quarters of this fiscal year, I've seen contraction of the economy, huge levels of unemployment. I don't know what will be this impact on the health and educational status. Only data will later will provide us. For example, let's take, there are many reasons. I will analyze it also, but I want to take a trial for you to understand it. Let's take one particular state, Tripura. Tripura has been under left front government for more than 3-4 decades, and it has been doing reasonably well. And as you know, last 4 years it has been under BJP government. Tripura's neonatal mortality rate was 13.2 in 2015 NFHS 4, and now it has increased to 22.9. 13.2 to 22.9, huge increase. That means out of 1,000 children born, live births, 13 were dying in 2015-16. Instead of reducing it, let's say, to 5, it has increased. We have increased to 23. Now 23 children are not seeing their first month out. They die before that. Same, IMR has increased from 26.7 to 37.6. A more than 11% increase have taken place in IMR. Out of 1,000 children born, now around 37 to 38 children die without seeing their first birthday. And the same is true also for under 5 mortality rate and all that. And see that Tripura has shown an increase in teenage pregnancy from 18.8 to 21.9. That means we have not made any progress, and we have slid further. This is very, very bad. There are many, many reasons behind it. One is, the first and foremost reason is, we are not giving enough importance to health and education. No country can progress without doing all this. According to a WHO comparative study just published a couple of years back, India's public healthcare spending rank is 170 out of 188 countries in the world. Of course, WHO, you can say that is an anti-national organization, but data doesn't lie. 170 out of 188 countries. We are spending per capita expenditure is very, very low. As per data for last fiscal year 2019-20 or FY20, the spending, public expenditure, that is the spending by central and state governments, is only 1.28% of GDP on health. Out of 100 rupees public expenditure of GDP, we are spending only 1.28% on health. This is very, very low. When you take countries like European countries are spending 7 to 8% on this. They are not spending at all. The government is not spending anything. And even this, the total amount of money which has been spent last year, budgetary estimates of central and states, is around 2.8 lakh crores. Now, when you take 2.8 lakh, a huge sum. But when you take it as a percentage of GDP or percentage of expenditure, then the real story comes out. We have to make changes in this. There is no ifs and buts in this. Even our national health policy document, which was released in 2017, says that we aim to increase it by 2.2-2.5% of GDP. Even last week, 10 days back, before this NFHS study came out, 15th Finance Commission Chairman, Mr. N.K. Singh, said that we need to increase it to 2.5, at least 2.5 percentage of GDP. Even Niti Aayog members are talking about it, but these people are outside the government. Only the government, cabinet, prime minister, and the concerned minister for women and child development, minister for family health and family welfare. These people have to do this. We have to walk the talk. There's no point in giving bhashan and giving man ki baat. Vaccination is important, but it's not a panacea. I've already said that because of huge disparities, inequalities are increasing between rich and poor. Um, that's the first and foremost criteria. Without money, and please remember that out of the 2.8 lakh crores which has been spent, is a positive thing is last 10 years it has been the health expenditure has increased by CAGR. CAGR is an economic terminology, compounded annual growth rate of around 15%. But then the devil lies in the details. 90% of this expenditure of 2.8 lakh goes to revenue expenditure. That is paying the salaries, mostly paying the salaries of the people employed there. That is a big problem there. There is very little money left for capital expenditure, creating infrastructure like beds, hospitals, and all that. So, most of the increase of this 15% CAGR of 15% has gone in creating this revenue expenditure, particularly paying the salaries. So, in reality, we are not creating any new health infrastructure. And there is huge disparities among within regional disparities, rural urban disparities, rich poor disparities, and more importantly, caste disparities in India. Unfortunately, NFHS does not give too much data on this. Unless and until we disaggregate the data and understand what is happening, we cannot take corrective measures. But many NGOs do the work, and we know that. Though we say government has started so-called Poshan Abhiyan nutritional program in 2018 with all fanfare and all that, nothing much is happening, changing this thing. We have ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme. We have what is this for children? Kendras are there. What is that called? So in Odisha, there is one study, NGO study, which says that in the KBK belt, you have to go 8 kilometers to get access to this clinics. So very few people actually go there. But in on record, we would have said that we have provided. In fact, NFHS 5 data also says that not only vaccination, but the government providing supplements for the pregnant women in the form of tablets of iron and folic acid IFL supplements have also improved a lot. Very positive. But how can you suddenly change the nutritional status of a girl who has been suffering from anemia from the day of her birth? You can't change that just by giving tablets for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months when she is pregnant is not going to change her nutritional status. An anemic woman will give birth to low weight children, and from the birth they are facing this unfortunate problem, discrimination, which has happened to their mother. Unless and until we improve the nutritional status of our women, we are not going to become a healthy country. It's very simple. But on paper, everything we are providing supplements, we are providing food, we are providing in schools itself for food for children. All those things by Namkevas, everything will be there. But in reality, nothing really happens. A lot of middlemen take all the money. Bureaucrats, there's a nexus, unholy nexus, which happens there, which everybody know. I don't have to repeat it. We'd have to vastly increase. Of course, corruption is an entirely different criteria that is concerned with governance. So let me not diverge and talk about that. But unless and until, assuming that 25% or even more than that is that again varies from state to state, is eaten away by the middlemen, bureaucrats, still something which go to the needy people. So if you are spending 1.28 percentage of GDP, it's not enough. We have to at least double it. We have to keep on increasing it, and we must have a law that every year we are going to increase the, not by amount. The government will, the finance minister Nirmala ji will be angry with after see if at all she sees this video. No, no, no. Last year we increased the outlay for health sector to this much, and an absolute number doesn't mean anything at all. I want it as a percentage of GDP. I want it within a commitment and a law. If we have a commitment and the law to reduce fiscal deficit, why can't a parliament enact a law to increase the spending of public spending on education to 6% of GDP and health on to at least 3% of GDP within the next 5 years? Every year 0.5% increase or outlay for percentage of GDP on health and 0.25 percentage on health is not a big thing. We are not asking for moon. We are just asking for the basic amenities in life. So even putting to, since the public health sector spending is on health and education is so low, people are forced to spend out of pocket expenditure from their own pocket. Even put together, that is around 3.75 percentage of GDP in India. Again, in US it is around 16%. In Germany it is around 11.5%. That is why they are developed countries. Germany spends around 8% on public sector. Therefore, the out-of-pocket expenditure, many rich people don't want to go to, let's say, like for example, in UK, which is supposed to be a capitalist country, everything is provided free of cost by, you might have seen during Corona time. The British Prime Minister would have been talking about this and all that. NFS, National Health Service, NHS. So we don't have such NHS facility in India. We being a poor country, we should be doing it, not rich country like with the per capita income of $35,000. India's per capita income is $2,000. We should be providing, because government is not providing, because their expenditure on health is so low. People are forced to spend out of their pocket, and that makes them more poorer, because poorer people cannot spend. If they keep spending on health, how can they spend on other things? Right? If the child often falls sick and take them to hospital and put saline or whatever this thing, how can they buy nutritious food for the child or send the child to a good school, or even parents can eat good food? So this is a vicious cycle. They get caught into a vicious cycle. So this is what unfortunately is happening. We cannot break this vicious cycle. A country cannot become a developed country unless and until it spends more on health and education. That is why these are known as social infrastructure. Physical infrastructure also we are not spending. That's another story. But if a country to wants for a long-term growth and development, they have to invest on people, human resources. They are the most important resources for any country, and human resources depend upon health and education. So this is the first priority. As far as we have hardly 8.5 hospital beds for 10,000 for 1 lakh people. So if you go to Japan and Korea, it is more than 100. And India's health expenditure, forget about developed countries. When you take BRICS countries itself, it is the lowest. We need to build more medical colleges, government, public sector colleges. We need to build more hospitals. We need to provide more, we have to ensure that there are enough skilled doctors available even at the rural areas. It is, yes, nice. It's good to support Ayush, the non-conventional thing, not only allopathy, but it's ridiculous when you say that these doctors can do, Ayurveda doctors can do surgery. That's what the government has done, and that is why allopathy doctors are protesting also. Very valid protest. We are doing half-baked measures will do more harm than good, and we are putting the life of patients at risk. Already they are at risk by themselves, by their own sedentary lifestyle and nonsense eating. The health factors are also affected by a lot of food adulteration which is happening in India. Some of you might have seen around 10-15 days back, Sunita Narayan's Center for Food and Environment, it has come up with the CSE has come up with the Science and Environment has come up with the report saying that most of the honey which is sold in the market, including big brands like Dabur, Patanjali, are all completely adulterated, and that is bad for our health. And this is the same thing which said that somewhere around 2005 that all the soft drinks what you are drinking, Pepsi and Coke, are nothing but pesticides, but no action has been done. And again we know that no action will be done taken against these adulterating companies also. Already our health is very bad, but when government is not spending and forcing the poor people to spend out of the pocket, they'll become more and more poor. They'll fall back into abject and poverty, and they cannot come out of it. We'll remain an unequal society, and an unequal society cannot progress at all. Even rich people may think that but they are living in a kind of an oasis among a vast desert, and the desert will slowly will eat away the oasis also, the dust storms, if you don't prevent the desertification. So this is what the thing is. The government has to take a commitment, learning from this. As I said, the more data will come after COVID. Field data from the 16 states, including UP and all, will come, and we should learn. We should not say that, oh, nothing, 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 and I think these are all preliminary reports and everything is fine, fine. I've already said kudos to some of the things which I've already said that. But the negatives, the whatever this report, there are more negatives in this report than the positives. We will give credit when needed, when the people deserve it, when the government deserves it. As I said, they should give more data, and they should follow up the data. That is more important. Merely generating data alone is not enough. Or sometimes they will say that this data itself is not correct and all those things. No, this is done by government agencies, and it's a very vast survey covering lakhs and lakhs of households, and therefore we should take it with all seriousness. And government should, we are asking the government to implement what itself has said, right? For health policy says that we will increase it to 2.5% of GDP. That's what we are asking for. Now it is only half of that amount. And create health infrastructure, medical colleges, nursing colleges, as I said, hospitals, primary health centers, community health centers, improve the functioning of this agencies which provide for nutrition of pregnant women, lactating mothers, and also children. Of course, continue the good work on vaccination, on spread of family planning methods. Of course, this report also says that family planning, still the majority thing is tubectomy. That again due to cultural reasons, which I right now in this I don't want to talk about it. So let's pressurize the government to do all these things. This is for us, for the development of the whole country. We have to do it. The governance does not mean that giving everything to the corporates. Good governance means satisfying the basic needs, unmet needs of the population at large, particularly the most vulnerable sections of population like Dalits, particularly tribals. As I said, data is insufficient. Data is not given by NFHS compare for the different communities like Dalits or STs or religious communities, etc. We need more data. Hope NFHS comes up with more data, and the government acts on this data, and increase the spending on health and education. So a healthy, educated society only can progress. Thank you.